What's up guys, this is RG giving you another high definition broadcast. As you can see, we're here on us.battle.net and we are on the skill calculator of the monk class, and this is going to be a PvE video of the monk class, and I will be doing the PvE versions of each class first before the PvP versions, as the PvE does actually obviously start right when the retail starts, and the PvP that is actually coming into a patch later on, yet to be announced. So PvE is more important to know now, as retail is coming up very close on May 15th. So without further ado, I'm going to go and get into the monk video. This is going to be a non-healing monk. It's going to be focused on DPS and hindering the enemies around us. And I also will be getting into another monk skill set for PvE, which actually has healing on the same video here. So here we have it. The first thing I wanted to talk about is crippling wave and concussion. This is going to be very important to be used on this class, and it's very much a build that synergizes with the passive skills, like most of my builds do. So enemies hit by crippling wave inflict 20% less damage for 3 seconds. So this is a skill or a rune you could actually use in the first 2 attacks, which is very important. And we're going to supplement that with another of our spirit generators here, the Wave of 100 Fists. And this is where we're going to get most of our damage from. As you can see, the Surge Strike generates a wave of wind that deals 250% weapon damage as physical to enemies directly ahead of you. So it is a AoE attack, as it does say enemies. It doesn't say enemy and enemy in front of you. So it's going to be an AoE attack that goes directly ahead of you for 250% weapon damage, which is going to be a massive amount of damage that can be used for every 3rd attack, and this isn't going to cost anything. It's actually going to generate spirit. So the first 2 attacks would be crippling wave. The 3rd attack would obviously be the Wave 100 Fists, unless you need to slow the enemy and slow the attack speed as well of the enemy. So if you want to use the 3rd attack as a crippling wave, you can slow them that way, and then the Wave 100 Fists is going to be used as a burst DPS in front of you. Now this can be switched up if you don't like crippling wave, if you don't want to do this, but for this build I am going to suggest going with the 20% less damage, and I'll show you why. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is the dashing strike. For this build, you will be in the very center of everything. You'll be needing to go close up to everyone and be able to use your crippling wave on most enemies, and try to get into the best position where you can hit the most enemies around you with the crippling wave, thus making them crippled, which will inflict 20% less damage for 3 seconds. So you want to be able to dashing strike in as much as possible, but also you don't want to die when you're dashing into the middle of them. So I got receives 20% less or 20% increased chance to dodge for 3 seconds. Is going to be very important for this build. Next thing here that's going to synergize with the dashing strike, it's going to work together with it. It's Cyclone Strike, and I got that with the 20% chance to increase dodge for 3 seconds. So you can actually dash in and then Cyclone Strike in, and you'll have a good amount of chance, 40% chance to dodge. So it's going to be very good like that. And I didn't get the dodge mantra, but 40% dodge is a significant amount to be able to be dodging that much. So next thing I wanted to show you guys is the sweeping wind, and I'm going to equip that with the blade storm. It's going to intensify the vortex, increasing the damage stack to 20% weapon damage, and increases the damage stack to 60% weapon damage when it's 3 stacks. So let me show you guys what this actually does. I'll just read the tooltip for you. Surround yourself in a vortex that continuously deals 15% weapon damage, but remember that's boosted to 20% weapon damage, to all enemies in 10 yards. The vortex lasts 6 seconds and refreshed each time you strike an enemy with a melee attack. This also does another thing, so I'm going to read the next thing here. Landing a critical hit has a chance to increase the vortex up to 2 times for a total of 45%. Remember that is boosted to 60% now, damage to enemies. So it is going to be an essential skill to be used, as this monk class is always in the fray, always in the very beginning of the fight or in the front lines And it's very important to use this skill because if you think about it, you'll have 60% weapon damage every second to all nearby enemies as long as you keep that attack up. And it doesn't mean that you have to crit to keep it up. If you crit, it just increases the effect. But you just have to hit someone with a melee attack, which is Crippling Wave or the Way of 100 Fists, the first two attacks. I believe I'm not 100% sure if the Cyclone um, or the Wind Force Flurry actually is a melee attack, as it does say it hits people in front of you. It might be like a wave of force or something that doesn't count as a melee attack. But I know the Crippling Waves will. You'll be using Crippling Waves all the time before 6 seconds are up, meaning that your Sweeping Wind will be up at all times. And remember, this doesn't have a cooldown, so you could just recast it even if it falls off anyways. So it's going to be very, very important to use this, as 60% weapon damage is going to be a really lot to be doing to an AoE effect, anybody who's really close to you. So definitely going to want to use that Sweeping Wind with the Blade Storm, and it'll do a lot of damage that way. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is overall this Mantra of Conviction. It's going to increase the Mantra of Conviction so that enemies take 24% additional damage and 48% for the first 3 seconds. So as you know, mantras for the first 3 seconds like usually double their effect, and for the 3 minutes that the mantra is actually active, it's going to increase the damage taken by all enemies by 24% as long as they're 20 yards with you. And that's really, really amazing as a group-centric skill. 24% increased damage to everyone in the party, and yeah, it's just a really, really good skill to be having. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is the Resolve, and this is going to synergize with the Crippling Wave. It's going to reduce the enemy damage by 25% for 2.5 seconds, and remember, this one actually reduces the enemy damage for 3 seconds by 20%. So you're going to have an enemy that's 45% less damage as long as you're attacking them. And remember, Crippling Wave is an AoE skill, so you're going to be able to use that skill and use that damage reduction on all the enemies that are around you that you hit with Crippling Wave, and being able to Dashing Strike in and Cyclone Strike also people in towards you. You're going to be able to mitigate a lot of damage of the enemies with this type of build. The next thing I wanted to stress is that you need to be able to take damage if you're going to be in the fray, in the very front, taking all the damage and cycloning people in, as this does not have a cooldown, as well as Dashing Strike does not have a cooldown. This is based on being able to be like that super action hero in the front lines and being able to pull in all the enemies and have them attack you. And this is going to require some armor. This is going to require you to have, like this sees of the initiative, your armor is increased by 100% of your dexterity. So your dexterity is where your damage is coming from, and it also is going to increase your armor this way. So you have a high percent of dodge, you have a high percent of armor, and you have a high damage as well. So this is going to be a good build, and you also have that damage reduction as well as damage increase for your team. This damage increase is going to be supplemented by this Combination Strike. Each different spirit generator ability you use increases your damage by 8% for 3 seconds. So each different one you use. So that means if you have 2 here, that means it's going to boost to 16%, as long as you're using these skills every 3 seconds, these different type of skills. So 1, 2 would be on Crippling Wave, and then 3 would be on 100 Fists. And if you have pretty fast weapons, you're going to be able to keep this 16% damage up indefinitely, as long as you just keep spamming your 2 on Crippling Wave and 3 on Third Strike will be Way of the 100 Fists. So with this build, you're going to be able to mitigate good amount of damage. You're going to be able to Dashing Strike in and out, escape, and even attack close distances with this Dashing Strike. And also, you're going to be able to protect your team and yourself with Cyclone Strike. So, good amount of dodge, very good with the damage reduction, as well as having a decent amount of damage yourself, and having a good amount of armor as well. So you will have a good amount of damage with this. The Sweeping Wind definitely will increase your damage by a lot if you keep that up, and it's pretty much about, just like I said, being that action hero, being that frontline guy, being that, you know, Marine, you whatever you want to call yourself, Navy SEAL guy that comes in the front and clears out everything for the remaining army. So you want to be the action guy. You want to be this type of monk class. The next thing I wanted to talk to you guys is the next thing I want to talk to you about is the monk healing DPS. So this is going to be a little bit different, and this is going to it's not going to be about really being in the front lines. It's about being you are going to be in the front lines, but you have to be group centric. You have to have your group around you. You have to kind of look at your group more and go back to them and kind of heal. This is a healing DPS, so you want to be able to look at your team and be very conscious about them. And this is more of a, you know, healing DPS, like I say. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys is Deadly Reach, and we're going to use the Foresight with this. The third strike increases the damage of all attacks by 18% for 30 seconds. This is going to be really, really important, as the third strike is going to increase your DPS by 18%. So the first thing I wanted to say is you definitely want to use these two generators together. The Way of 100 Fists is going to be very important for this because it is Spirited Salvo. This is the rune that I'm using. Every activation of this skill has a 15% chance to generate 15 additional spirit. So you're going to be using your first two attacks with Way of 100 Fists. So maybe we should switch these up. So like say Way of 100 Fists will be here, and the Deadly Reach will be here, as you'll be using your third strike with Deadly Reach, and your first two is going to be Spirited Salvo with the Way of 100 Fists. So 1, 2 on your left click, and then third will be Deadly Reach, which is going to boost your incoming or your increases your damage of all your attacks. So any skills or any attack by 18% for 30 seconds, and that's a really long time to be boosting the attacks. And you could, yeah, if you need to use your Way of 100 Fists, you could just use your Way of 100 Fists for 1, 2, 3, and then just make sure you keep that 18% damage up at all times. So every 30 seconds you should use your third strike for Deadly Reach, or you could even use Deadly Reach for your 3 strikes if you'd like to, if you know there's an AoE chance there. The next thing I want to talk about is the heals. The Breath of Heaven is going to be your main heals, and I did want to do two different types because, or two different builds for the monk, because yes, the monk is like the healer type class. He's like a paladin, and Diablo, you know, Diablo 2 didn't really have a healer class. I wanted to showcase a healing class on this, and the paladin is the main healer. He is the person that is going to be like the healer in the group. There's not a lot of heal skills really for like group heals for other people. There are, but the monk has like the, you know, main heal, the Breath of Heaven. And I wanted to equip that with the Circle of Life. It's going to just increase the heal by a good amount of damage. So it is a main heal type of class here that I'm doing the build, but it also does a really good amount of damage, which I'm going to show you in a sec. The next thing I want to show you is the Inner Sanctuary. You're going to be able to heal more with this, and for 5 seconds it heals 1,550 life per second. So this is what I mean about being around your group. You have to be within 12 yards to heal them with Breath of Heaven, and they need to be inside the circle of the Inner Sanctuary to be in safe haven. So if you feel like they need a lot of heals, and they need to then they need to be around you. You need to like kind of watch them and see where they're at, and you could even coordinate with them to say like, be in my area or be around me when I use Safe Haven, because it gives you heals. They need to know what type of skills you have, obviously, in your group, so that they can work together with you and use your skills correctly as you have them equipped. So the next thing I want to show you guys is Serenity, and this is actually a very, very good skill. It only has a 20-second cooldown, and this is an invulnerability. You are enveloped with a protective shield that absorbs all incoming damage for 3 seconds and grants immunity to all crowd controlling effects. Now, I'm going to equip this with the Tranquility. Again, this is a group-centric type of build here. So the Tranquility is going to extend the protective shield to allies within 45 yards. 45 yards is a very big radius, and it's going to be for 2 seconds, and it makes them immune to crowd controlling effects and slow and frozen, or pretty much everything that the Serenity does, but only for 2 seconds. So this is a very, very good skill because you can just spam Serenity every 20 seconds, and you're going to reduce any damage incoming for all your allies for 2 seconds. Or you can actually save it for, you know, those dire moments where people need to be saved, like that. So it's a very good skill. It's a crowd. It's like it saves all your allies pretty much. It's like a, you know, like a invulnerability shield that just saves everybody. Invulnerability is always good, and you should be able to use this as a, you know, um, damage mitigator as well as a crowd control stopper. So if somebody's getting crowd controlled, like say stunned in the middle of a bunch of enemies, you can use your tranquility and instantly um, save them. It's going to be awesome for that. And once they're done with their invulnerability, you can actually, you know, enter sanctuary and they'll be protected in that circle. And remember, anybody who's in that circle of protection with the inner sanctuary gets feared out. So even if you plop your inner sanctuary right on the middle of a bunch of mobs, they actually get feared out of the inner sanctuary. And and also remember, it heals you, as the inner sanctuary is equipped with safe haven. So that is pretty awesome, and you're going to be able to get a really, really good amount of heals with this. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is the Mantra of Conviction. I do have the overall on this, and this is just because it's going to be a group centric build again, and you need to have this Mantra of Conviction, and I really think the overall is amazing on it because enemies take 24% more damage. It's like a 24% damage buff for everyone, and it's just going to be pretty much indispensable as a skill. To me, as a PvE skill, it's just amazing. So the next thing I wanted to show you guys is the Chant of Resonance. So this is going to increase your spirit by 2 for every second that you have a mantra up. So, and it's also going to increase your mantras to 7 minutes. But yeah, this is going to give you 2 spirit every time you have your mantra of conviction up, which should be on at all times, by the way, because this doesn't have a cooldown, and it's up for 3 minutes. So your your mantra should be up at all times. So you guys should be getting 2 spirit every second, always. So this is going to be very good for you. Um, if you have a high spirit gain, you might want to go with something like, let's see, um, what was it? This Exalted Soul. Oh, no, not Exalted Soul. You know, this tooltip's a little bit broken because it says Exalted Soul, but it's really the right here, Guardian's Path. As you can see, when I go to Exalted Soul, it says Guardian's Path, and when I go to Guardian's Path, it says Exalted Soul. So it's a little bit of a bug there. I just want to show you, as I noticed it just now. But this right here, if you have a two-handed weapon and you actually have a lot of spirit regeneration, like say, you know, you have like even 15 to 20 spirit regeneration, that 25% is going to be more spirit than the 2 spirit from the mantras. So you can actually switch it up to Guardian's Path just to get that extra spirit, and it's going to be really important to have that spirit as well, because you're going to need to be healing and inner sanctuarying and sanctuarying, or serenitying, if that works, but all the time. So you just want to be able to heal at all times, so you're going to get your spirit up that way. The next thing I want to show you guys is the combination strike. Like in my last one, 8%, it's going to go to 16% as long as you keep these up. And remember, the deadly reach gives you an 18% also, so that's going to increase your damage. Now people might be saying, yeah, you know, this is pretty cool, but you have too much heals, not enough damage. Well, if you really add it up, there's 18% damage here, there's 16% damage here, there's 24% damage here, and I got it with Guiding Light. So whenever you use a direct heal skill on another player, you and the other player deal 16% more damage for 15 seconds. So anytime the players are near you and use Breath of Heaven, they're gonna gain 16% more damage. And remember, we have a 24% additional damage right here. That's going to be on everyone that's in 20 yards of you. So as long as they're kind of close to you, when you use your Breath of Heaven, they're going to get a 16% damage increase, and they're also always going to have a 24% damage increase. And remember, guys, you can use your mantras as an active skill. So when you actively use it, for those 3 seconds, it's going to be 48% damage. And remember, if you pop your mantra of conviction, then you instantly pop your Breath of Heaven, or vice versa, you're going to get another 16%. So it's going to be 48% plus 16%. What's that, like something like 54? Wait, no, it's 64. So a 64% increased damage right here for the Monster Conviction plus Guild Light. Plus you have your own damage buffs here, the 16% here and the 18% there. So you're going to have a good amount of damage with this build, as well as a huge amount of healing, and you're going to have spirit regeneration. So spirit regeneration is always key, as well as being able to increase your spirit with this Wave of 100 Fists, which is going to give a chance to generate 15 additional spirit every time you hit. So you're going to be able to do a lot of healing with this, and you're going to be able to do a lot of damage with this, and a lot of damage buffing. So whereas the other build focuses a little bit more on damage reduction of enemies, this is kind of focusing in on healing of your allies and buffing your allies rather than debuffing your enemies. So this is the type of skill set you would want to use if your allies are really buff. If you have a lot of gear and if they're really skilled, you want to use this type of build. But if you're running maybe pugs or people that don't really have that great of a gear, you might want to go with the other build that I was showing you guys. The one right here with the DPS and damage mitigation. So this is the damage mitigation one here, and the next one is the PvE healing. So you want to be able to use these two different types of builds in those ways, being able to be group centric and having groups around you with the healing, kind of close knit group. And with this other skill set I wanted to show you, the DPS one, you want to be able to kind of be in the front lines, be the main type of damage mitigator, as you don't have to be the main tank, but you can be the off tank kind of dodge tank, evasion tank. If you guys played World of Warcraft, sometimes people would evasion tank things, and it would actually work very well as but not too crazy, because I mean, this is World of Warcraft now because like they had cooldowns, but this one actually doesn't have any cooldowns and is actually going to give you 40% evasion indefinitely, as long as you keep these two in tandem, just like continuously doing that. This is going to be the most of the dodge here. So again, this is damage mitigation, dodge, DPS, and kind of armor. So the other one is about damage buffing, healing, and spirit regeneration. So you want to be able to see what kind of group you have and pick exactly which type of skill set you would want to go with. And I did kind of take some thought to this, and I probably will make a different monk build, as the monk is very, very versatile and can be used for many different things. But I feel like if I had to pick one of these to actually use for PvE, I would kind of lean towards the healing DPS. I feel like it's a little bit better, as this just would be my kind of way of playing the monk, as I feel like he is a class that has really good heals and really good buffs, as well as he's kind of, I'm playing him kind of like a paladin would be, giving a good amount of heals and buffs and being able to do damage as well. So I feel like this would be a little bit of a better build, and maybe a little bit higher skill type of build. And the other one would be kind of just a run through and just smash everything in the face type of build, where you don't really have to worry about cooldowns, and you don't have to worry about damage coming in too much, because you're mitigating so much damage with the crippling wave and the resolve. So yeah, that's about it for those builds right there, guys. Tell me in the comments below, please, whether if you would like to see, you know, a let's see, a witch doctor or a wizard next. As I will do the witch doctor or wizard next, and then I will do the demon hunter PvE after that. And tell me what you guys want to see. Hopefully, you guys